You may not know this about me, but I'm a published author. And this is my book. Now, you may have never seen this book before, anywhere being sold. You may have never heard about it. And I don't blame you for that. This is the reason why I wanted to do this video, to talk about the issue that local producers face in Kenya. Now, I'm a local producer. I produced that book, right? And it was one of the most difficult processes and one of the most difficult things I've ever tried to do. And I'm not saying it should be easy. I'm not saying that the world owes me anything. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit so that you can understand, just from my story, the things that affect Kenyans and the things that keep us poor. So what you need to understand is that local producers are discriminated against, and I can attest to that personally. Now, the process of writing a book and getting it published is extremely difficult, especially in Kenya. So I wrote the book, this is years ago, and I went around shopping for a publisher. All Kenyan publishers refused to even look at the manuscript, and many of them were very rude and contemptuous. In fact, one of them sent me a letter after 1 week and said, if you don't come and collect your manuscript, you'll find it in the garbage dump. He literally said that, and that was really uncalled for. But what you need to understand, that is not surprising. This is what people go through to attain anything, especially in Kenya when you're a local producer. Now you go through all that, finally you get a publisher and they put out your book. The challenge is to sell the book, and to sell the book you need to advertise it or market it in the marketplace, right? And again, this is very difficult because the systems that have been put in place in Kenya exist to work against you as a local producer. They don't exist to promote you. In other words, the wind is against you, not behind you, pushing you forward. Now, this is the deliberate system that the government has created for us. Now, why would they do that? You have to understand that after independence, it's the sellouts, it's the traitors that took the country over. And their mission was very simple: protect Western military, political, and economic interests in Kenya. And you see the way this plays out in real life, affecting ordinary people. You may think these are just a lot of political theories, but really they affect you every single day, and they affect your prosperity. They affect the amount of money inside your wallet. And I'll show you how. When you look at all this video, I went around the major booksellers around Nairobi, and I just took informal videos of the books that they were selling. And you'll notice something very peculiar. One of the things that stands out when you watch this video is that you cannot find any locally produced book. Now you may wonder, why am I not marketing my book? Because the local booksellers will not stock African written books, or at least Kenyan written books. They simply won't do it. They discriminate actively against us, so that it is far more easier to get a book written by an American in a Kenyan bookshop. As you can clearly see, almost 90% of the titles here are foreign. In fact, almost 99% of all the books that you can see here are foreign. And they leave absolutely no room or opportunity for local writers. There are very many local writers. Because you may wonder, don't Kenyans produce anything? Kenyans do produce a lot of things, but the system is carefully designed by the government to discriminate against us, to prevent us from accessing the market. Why? Because the policy is always the same. It's Mzungu first. The foreigner comes first. First they make money. And if there are any scraps left, then you Africans can go scramble for that. And the book marketplace proves this very, very easily. You can see I'm a local author. I cannot get my book to be stocked by any bookseller. You can't convince them to stock your book. Even when you're giving it to them for free, just stock it. They refuse. And if they were to agree, they will put it in a place where it will never be seen. For example, you can see this very rude title. In all of these videos, you'll see this very rude title using a curse word. Now, this is the book that they place in the front and center of many of these places that sell books. This is the title that kids are able to see. So they exist. The system is there to promote anything that is foreign. You understand? If it's negative, if it's evil, if it's satanic, if it's unhelpful, if it's against our culture, that is what they will promote. So as you're going through the bookshops, you'll see a lot of titles promoting any kind of Western perversion, but you will never find my book or a book written by many African authors or Kenyan authors. Young people never have a chance. People like me, we never have a chance. And I remember, even when you go to the universities in Kenya, when you go to their bookshops, you will definitely not find my book, because they too actively discriminate against locally written books. In fact, 99% of the titles in all these universities are foreign titles, which they buy, so they would never spend their money on us. Even when you go to the Africana section, you'll find a lot of the authors are Mzungu authors. So the entire system is specifically designed to keep us poor. So when you see all this poverty around you, and you may think, where does the poverty come from? It comes from active policies pursued by the government that are designed to keep the bulk of the population very poor. And this is not just some idle statement. I am living proof that this is the situation. It's deliberate. It's by calculation. It's not any kind of mistake. And I remember when I was writing this book, you have to do a lot of research. You have to read many other books. And I went to the National Archives. There's Macmillan Library. I went there to do research, but their books are extremely old and irrelevant. So I needed to use the University of Nairobi's library. So I approached them. I told them what I was doing. I told them I can put a deposit, and so that you can allow me to use your facilities. They refused. They completely refused. And at that time I was very young. I was like 18 years old or something like that. I was very young, and they completely refused to assist me. And in fact, I have to say this: they arrested me, and they took me to Central Police Station. Why? Because I was trying to use their library. They said I had no business going to the library. So eventually, I got arrested for that. So anyway, after a short while, literally months later, I was called to. It was just after we had done our KCSE. So after that, I was called to the University of Nairobi as a student. So I became a student there, the same place they had arrested me to use the library. And then once I became a student, I saw very many foreigners, mostly Mzungus, using the library. So I went to the head of the library and asked them, how come there are foreigners using the library? They told me the process that they follow to be able to use the facilities of the library is that you fill out an application, you put a money deposit, and then you're given a temporary card as a visitor so that you can use the facilities. And that's exactly what I had tried to do a few months earlier when they arrested me. So you can see the system is not meant to work for us, it's meant to work for the Mzungu. So the Mzungu can go to the University of Nairobi Library and use the facilities, but they arrested me when I tried to do that. So I had a lot of trouble just trying to write to the book. And I began to experience life in Kenya as a local producer. The other Africans will be against you if you try to produce anything. They don't need a Mzungu to come to Kenya to suppress us. No. The brainwashed African, which is most of you, will do everything in your power to defeat anyone trying to do anything productive locally. So you are your own worst enemy, isn't it? At any rate, the book got published, and today the University of Nairobi, I am an alumni of that university, and they will not even stock my book. Even if I try to give it to them for free, to put it in their Africana section, absolutely no. They refuse to promote anything that is locally produced. And that is the tragedy. So you may not identify me as an author because the system is completely designed to defeat people like me. Like you're going nowhere. And now let's look at the role of the media in all this. The media shows absolutely no interest in locally produced books. They don't even have an author section, a show on TV discussing local authors, where they would routinely bring in local authors and give them a platform to discuss their works. No. the focus is on the Mzungu. The Mzungu comes first. So the media gives local producers of books total blackout. You may think there are no authors in the country, yet there are hundreds of people who write books, but they can never get the time or day in the media to promote their works. But the media will flood hours and hours and hours of all sorts of Western garbage to the public, but they won't even give local authors a single hour to be able to promote our works, because the system is not meant to work for us. It's meant to work for the foreigners. So when you see many people not succeeding, it's not because they are failures. It's because the traitors that took over the country in the 1960s created a system that is 100% against us. And that is the situation to this day. That is the reason why you've never seen my book anywhere. And so given that this is 2023, what would be the role of the government that pretends that it wants to help local producers, pretends that it wants to help the youth or young people succeed? Hustlers, quote unquote, right? They pretend that they want to promote hustlers. Okay, so what is their role? What can they do to alter the situation? Well, first of all, we have a Ministry of Industrialization. I think we have a Trade Ministry, and we have a Ministry of Culture. Now, these are almost completely useless ministries, because between these three ministries, they should be able to propose a law that should pass in Parliament, forcing booksellers to reserve 50% of the shelf space towards local books. They should be able to pass legislation to force all the universities in Kenya, to force and to mandate them to stock at least 100 titles every year of Kenyan written books. I shouldn't have to go and beg the University of Nairobi to stock my book, even when I'm giving it to them for free, and they still say no. You understand what I'm saying? They should be mandated, forced through legislation to stock Kenyan written books. You should be able to go to any university bookstore, any university library, and you should be able to go to a section written Kenyan books and see almost every title, non-fiction and fiction, produced by Kenyans. They should be able to at least give us 2 shelves. Currently, the policy is no Kenyan written books. Okay, you should be able to go to any bookshop and see 50% of the titles being produced in Kenya. We should be able to reserve our market for ourselves. How do you deny yourself market in your own country? Why would you shoot yourself in the foot? Does that make sense to you? But then again, brainwashed Africans, never make sense. And because you are the same people who worship European statues, right? You literally go to a temple, church building, and there are statues of Europeans that you're worshipping. Does that make sense? It doesn't. But how do you stop brainwashed people? You can't stop brainwashed people in Kenya because they control everything. They control the whole system. And so anything that is local is deemed unacceptable and discriminated against. So I'm kind of a victim of that, and it's difficult to fight back when you're acting alone, and when majority of the people are not even aware of the issue, and majority of the people are carefully trained to never question the system. When you walk into a bookshop, it never occurs to you that there are no Kenyan written books. Never. Any bookshop. The bookshop could even be in a supermarket. It's still a bookshop. It never crosses your mind that there's literally nothing, no single book that they're selling is written by a Kenyan. And again, it never bothers you because, again, you're brainwashed. So in your brain, Mzungu comes first, right? So the market is meant to work for foreigners. It's never meant to work for locals. So as a local producer, I can never get the time or day or any kind of breathing space to even show off my works, to even not even to make you buy it, just to show it to you so that you may consider it, because we can never get any, as authors, we can never get any shelf space in any bookshop in any part of Kenya. The entire system is carefully designed to keep us down and to keep us irrelevant, which is why we are down as authors and we are mostly irrelevant. So it's very ironical that I cannot tell you to go buy my book in a certain bookshop. I cannot tell you go to such and such bookshop and you'll get my book there. The irony is it is Amazon.com that is selling my book. Ironically, right? That local sellers will not agree to sell Kenyan books. So I have to send you to Amazon in order for you to buy the book. And you can imagine all the difficulties with that, having to ship something from outside the country into the country. And once it gets into the country, the KRA will capture it and then force you to pay import tax. So that's a shame, but that is the situation. I would hope that the situation would be changed, but of course there is no one to change it, because all the ministries are not supportive, and of course Parliament has no interest in doing anything that would benefit us. In fact, you remember Parliament passed a law that exempted British people from paying taxes in Kenya. You remember? They did that in, was it 2016 or 2017? And I don't remember any of you complaining. Yeah, so that is the role of Parliament, to promote foreigners. So, but if you feel moved, please go to Amazon.com and buy the book. This is how it looks like, and I will appreciate your support. Thank you so much.